Welcome to the 2024 edition of Pipeline Things here at PPIM 2024. I am your host, Rhett Dotson, my guest, Christopher De Leon, and you can see we have a new esteemed guest here, Mr. Stephen Westwood.
Hello.
From Onstream. Welcome. We know you've been excited about this show, looking forward to it for weeks.
Yep.
So much so that if you're watching us on YouTube, the audience can see that only one person is out of place in this trio, and it's myself.
Uncultured is what I think.
Apparently uncultured. Rube, you two can turn against me. It's fine. But on my right, Christopher is in a football jersey that looks like he got involved in a paint contest and lost. And Mr. Stephen Westwood is in a different football jersey, and I have to admit, I don't know
Also
what
white
this
and
team
blue.
is.
White and blue, yeah. Yep. This is a West Bromwich Albion shirt, okay?
Yes.
A very, very obscure English football team that I support. So
Are they close to Wrexham?
no,
That's all that people know.
That's in
Wrexham's
Wales.
in Wales.
That's in Wales.
Sorry, it's uncultured. I don't know anything about where these football teams are located.
They're located in the United Kingdom.
The best ones, right?
Oh no. And obviously for all of our YouTubers, I am proudly wearing the U.S. women's national jersey.
Yes.
True champions, and so proudly representing our women's U.S. national team.
Yes.
I didn't have a jersey. They said football, and I showed up with either a San Francisco 49ers or a Kansas City Chief.
He's lying. He actually had a Tay-Tay shirt on. He's one of those.
It was underneath.
What's a Tato shirt?
Tay-Tay. Taylor Swift. She's a
okay.
Kansas City Chief.
Okay.
She's probably worth more than the club shirt.
Probably,
you're wearing.
yeah.
Just, you know,
Exactly.
We're going to leave that alone. Let's move on.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, thanks for joining us today. So obviously you're here representing Onstream. Super excited. So what we've been doing at this PPIM arc is we're always covering technology providers, going over things with new in the industry. But before we get there, do you mind giving our audience a little introduction to who is Stephen Westwood? And you're obviously not from these parts.
Obviously not
Being
from
Texas.
This. yeah. Apparently I'm from East Texas, if that makes sense.
No, my wife's from East Texas, and you were definitely not from East Texas.
He's just east of East Texas.
Okay. Okay, obviously. Did a degree and a PhD at Durham University in the UK.
Okay.
Was finishing it up.
Is that near Wrexham?
Nowhere's near as Wrexham, okay?
I'm sorry.
Is this, do I have to give all the places relative to Wrexham? Okay, yeah.
We need a geography lesson first.
Okay. Was finishing that up, and I get a phone call out of the blue going, do you want to come and work for British Gas Online Inspection Centre? 3-month contract. And I went, okay, I'll come and do that, and then I'll try and find a proper job.
We've heard this.
Yeah.
Not your story,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is continue.
Yeah, so I thought I'd do it until I find a proper job, and now, 30 years later, I moved countries, and I'm still in this industry doing similar
We
sort
need
of
to
thing.
name this somehow, right? Because we just keep hearing this, right?
So British Gas became. Are you part of the PII mafia?
I was PII for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was British Gas, PII, GE. I left just before GE, okay? And then
I think that qualifies as the PII mafia, though.
yeah.
You
I
were
mean,
there.
Yeah, I was there, yeah.
There's a rich culture that came out of there. A lot of well-known people in the industry.
Yep.
So
And then transferred over to Canada to work for BJ Services.
that's where the accent comes from.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So lived in-
Canadian.
and Canada's a little bit further west of Wrexham, okay?
A few miles west of Wrexham. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
I got my bearings now.
Okay, good. So worked for BJ Services, and then 2016 joined Onstream to try and get them into the large diameter Triaxial marketplace. So yeah.
Fantastic. So do you say A?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
My son does.
How do you feel about that?
Okay, it's good.
So you brought up your son. So
Have you tried saying y'all?
Y'all.
Yeah. So you brought up your son.
Are you going there now?
Yeah, I have to bring this up. So Henry, right?
Yeah, Henry, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So Stephen and I go back a little bit, and so I knew he's an Albion fan.
Yeah.
I also know that his mom is a Wolves fan.
No, my mother was a Wolves fan. Oh, yeah. My
Mum.
Oh, Henry's mum is a Newcastle fan.
No, but your mom,
My mum is a Wolves fan, yes.
Wolves fan.
Yes.
And so talk to me a little bit about the relationship between Albion fans and Wolves fans.
Very cordial.
Oh.
Is it so cordial that you'd be willing to take your mom into your section of the stands when
enemy-
y'all
so
attend
I
together?
have proof.
No.
I have proof about his risk management strategies that he was willing to take
your
his
brother
mom.
may or may not have preempted this conversation.
How would you
Okay.
take your mom to opposing team's home field side, knowing that she's a Wolves fan during a Wolves game?
I wanted to watch the match.
Is this how you develop ILI tools?
That's exactly how I do it. Try something risky, see whether it works, and then improve. Okay,
Do it, ask for forgiveness later.
we've all done that.
You
so,
can
yeah.
take it up with your brother after. He totally sent all the information over.
I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
And the photograph too, just as
Yeah.
proof.
Okay, I mean he's probably got worse photos of me. Did he send those?
No, he
okay.
stopped there.
No,
Okay.
It's a perfect segue about risk management, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what we do with ILI tools.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a great segue to
Okay.
say. So this is the guy that builds ILI tools for you, and now that you have an appreciation for the amount of risk he's willing to take with his mom,
Yeah. Okay.
we can go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. But she enjoyed the game.
So, all right. Moving on past football.
Okay.
Onstream, tell us a little bit about it. So you mentioned that you came on to help them develop their large diameter
Yeah.
stuff, but give us a little bit of the background. Who is on Onstream to the audience?
Onstream started off in Canada, the Calgary area, working in the upstream marketplace. So 3-inch to 12-inch predominantly.
So when you say upstream, that can have a lot of different meanings to people.
Yeah.
Is upstream from like the wellhead to treatment facilities, or what's upstream? What do you mean?
So probably from the wellhead to a treatment facility or going into a larger,
Okay.
a larger pipeline and going
Gotcha.
down there.
But
So-
mostly small diameter stuff feeding the larger diameter lines.
Yeah, so 3-inch to 12-inch, okay?
Yeah.
And then after they developed the MFL tools and the combo tools for that marketplace, they got into the tethered marketplace, bidirectional tethering of those tools. That marketplace is very, very challenging, okay? It's 1.5D bends, horrible products, low pressure, all the things which make pigging really bad. So they developed their fast turnaround, lots of inspection runs, okay? But they saw a need to go into the bigger, larger diameters, the 16s, the 20s, 24s, 36s. So 2016, I came on board to develop those tools for them, okay? So now if you go over on our stand there, we have a 30-inch tool, and we just built a 4-inch 1.5D tool, which is on the stand as well. So that's quite exciting. That's the first time it's been seen at a show. So
Wow. So I was about to ask. It
Yeah.
seems like that background, which you guys build into, does the background from tethered feed in and influence how y'all approach the larger diameter stuff? Because 1.5D, that's pretty tight.
1.5D is fairly tight, but in that upstream marketplace, it's got to be 1.5D. It could be also SCED 80 as well, okay? So yeah, and the tethering side, whenever we're designing a big free swimming tool, we also look at see whether we can tether it as well to give the options, because some of the customers are tethering 20s, 24s, 30s, 36s.
So I don't know if we got into this. We talked about, you were studying.
Yeah,
What's your role in this?
I'm the technology director. So I'm responsible for the mechanical design group, the electronics design group, the software and the algorithms group.
Perfect.
So a wide range of skills. One day I can be talking about SCED 80, the next thing I'm talking about neural networks. So it's a wide range of cool things to do.
It's fun.
It's fun, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So in this, I like to say we're at PPIM 2024, and,
Yeah.
and this year is definitely the biggest that I can remember
Yeah.
in memory. We have all the way up to the thousands in terms of booths. It feels like every year we come here, Stephen,
Yeah.
there's a new MFL or
Yeah.
a new ILI provider. It's almost like they're springing up like weeds
Yeah.
across the industry. That's not to say you guys are weeds, but the new ones are coming up like weeds.
Yeah.
What separates you guys? What's the differentiator truly unique about Onstream?
I think you hit the nail on the head, okay? When I started off many years ago in this industry, it was very challenging to build tools, okay? The batteries were hard to get a hold of. The electronics all were really hard, okay? And microprocessors. Now, with your iPhones and the lithium batteries, that technology for building tools is really easy, okay? It's relatively easy, okay?
Sure.
Now, making it reliable, that's another challenge, okay? I feel as an industry, we're now moving more onto what you do with the data that you collect, and that's where the differentiator is going to be in the data, how you size what your performance is going to be like.
Yeah. We obviously we've had an opportunity to talk to a lot of guests on the show, and we kind of have this position that pigging at the time was focused on the tool.
Yes.
Can you get the tool in and out?
Yes.
And then it was, can you get it in and out and collect good usable data?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then can you get more than one technology in and out? And
Yep.
I feel like now, just paralleling that, it's really gotten to how can we tune these tools to get data in, I'm going to say a different way, algorithms
Yeah.
to focus on specific threats now.
Yeah.
Right. So now we understand you have corrosion that
Yeah.
may be this big, but now we're trying to characterize it almost, complex corrosion, pits to pits.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that something that you guys are seeing on y'all's platform?
The nice thing about the upstream marketplace, the sort of corrosion you see, it's so wide, okay? We have a boneyard, okay? Where all the pipe we get from the upstream operators go in there, okay? And you just see complex morphologies, pits within pits, slab erosion. I've seen 4-inch pipe go down to 1 millimeter wall left, okay? All the way channeling, okay? So we're getting that data, we're scanning it, we're correlating it to the MFL signals. We've got a big dig database with over 100,000 features in there. So we're using that for algorithm development, training our analysts to actually, this is what this particular feature would look like, okay?
Yeah.
So having that access to all that raw MFL data, raw laser data, is a really nice thing to have, okay?
But I imagine there's only so much you can do with data manipulation, right? I mean, there's also a big component on the data that you collect.
Yes. There's the data. So at the moment, as I said, we're Triaxial, okay, on all our tools. We've got a very tight scan pitch going down the line, okay? And we have a caliper, IDOD. All those panels are available for the analysts to make their decisions. So
I want to dig into something a little bit here.
okay then.
You want to?
I feel this is going to be good.
I do, and I don't know. I feel
Better
like
than the jersey.
I feel like you and I had kind of had a lot of these discussions.
Yes.
Back it's the BJ days when I was at Energy Transfer.
Yeah.
But honestly, I can't tell you that I feel like now in the role that I'm in, that what we knew years ago, back in like 2009, 8, 9, hasn't really come forward. Is Triaxial just jargon? Is it important? I mean, what is it, right? I mean, we hear terms like, oh, it's MFL. Oh, it's a high resolution. You're saying Triaxial. What does that mean?
I want to preface it another way. And I asked somebody to explain Triaxial to me once.
Okay.
And their explanation was you get nothing from the third sensor.
Which one's the third sensor?
I didn't know enough to ask. I'm just giving you the answer that I got.
So,
Okay.
and so give us the why, right? I mean, why does it matter?
Okay then. So when we went off and started this development,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time building finite element models of magnetic flux leakage from defects.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're a finite element modeler.
I can do lots of things. Okay.
Like take his mom to enemy territory.
Yeah, okay.
He must be a good fighter too.
So we built finite element models of all these corrosion shapes, got the magnetic responses from that, and then we said, okay, let's build sizing algorithms using the axial component, the radial component, the circumferential component. Let's use axial, radial, and circ, and all the combinations, and see which one actually gives us the better performance, okay? We found that combining all three of them, all the signals from them, gave us better performance over just a radial-based sizing algorithm or an axial-based sizing algorithm. So we're seeing an actual performance improvement on our tolerances, okay?
And you've been doing this just for a little while, right?
What, triaxial stuff?
Yeah.
2001.
So it's not new.
It's not new, no.
Then
but
what is your perspective on, let's talk for us, for the U.S. market.
Yeah.
How well educated would you say the average U.S. ILI enthusiast would understand the difference between a single component MFL sensor versus a triaxial component MFL sensor?
I think there's lots of work to do there, okay? I do. I mean, we're still having this conversation since 2001, okay?
Yeah.
And there's papers, I think, being presented here on Triaxial MFL by Baker Hughes.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of work to actually do and inform and educate people on the differences you're seeing. One of the things I do notice, and you talked about more and more vendors coming into the marketplace, almost every vendor coming in now is coming in with Triaxial. Okay? So I think the vendors who have, it costs a lot of money to convert a fleet over to Triaxial, okay?
Sure.
But if you're starting from scratch, it seems everybody's going that way, okay?
Yeah. Does it matter
What does
to
it
have triaxial versus having just a single component like a radial only or a horizontal only?
I think, I know the sizing performance is better once you include all three data sets. Once you include the axial signal, the radial, the circ. The circ component is really, when you look at it, it helps you define the shape of the cohesion.
Yeah.
You overlay everything. You look at all, in your own business, you're looking at all sources of information to make your judgment. So,
Stephen, I have to let you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I have seen Christopher be so direct in our podcast. I think the jersey set him off.
Okay.
I don't. It's like a different side of him, and he is like on this triaxial thing, like a dog on a bone, and I'm
Rhett,
like,
you know that there's certain topics that I'm kind of passionate about, and it's one thing to
football.
have me say it, and it's one thing for it to be validated by one of the OGs.
Either way, you know what? We're gonna take a few minute break, regroup, gather our thoughts, and come back and talk about this whole triaxial thing and where Onstream's headed in the future.
Okay.
Take a brief break. We'll be right back, audience.
Hello, everyone. It's BJ Lowe from Clarion, and we're very happy to be sponsoring this season of Pipeline Things to showcase the impressive technologies being exhibited here at PPIM.
I'm Ben Stroman, and we've been impressed with the turnout at the 36th PPIM conference event in 2024 with 159 companies exhibiting, over 3,000 attendees, and over 90 papers being presented. We've had a great year with a huge turnout in terms of high-quality technical paper submissions. Attendees this year will have the opportunity to hear from industry stakeholders and their advancements in several fields, including ILI analysis, geohazards, materials identification and verification, emerging issues, repair, hydrogen, integrity management, NDT, and more. If you couldn't make it in person to the PPIM conference in February, you can always find helpful resources and tools offered by Clarion year-round. We have several courses taught by subject matter experts that can be found on our website. We're excited for PPIM this year, and we hope to see everyone next year as well. But be sure to stay up to date with Clarion and its offerings by joining our mailing list on our website. Thanks.
All right, welcome back to Pipeline Things, where we are continuing our conversation with Mr. Stephen Westwood from Onstream. So I know you guys got into a great conversation about the triaxial sensors.
I mean, it goes a long way for me, right? So, I mean, obviously, Bruce Nesselroth, SGA conference, I mean, ILI workshop long time ago. You know, he put me on to, some previous work that Battelle had done. Are you familiar with the work?
I'm familiar, yeah. It was basically 80% of the information's in one component, 90% is in two components, and 95% of all the possible information is in all three components.
So what you're saying is if you were dealing with an ILI tool that has only a single component Hall effect sensor, then at best you're getting 80% of the data on a defect.
You're getting 80% of the information from the flux leakage signal.
And that kind of makes sense. So there is a bit of a law of diminishing returns, but there is something you do get with that 90 to 95.
And that ties into ultimately what you're trying to achieve, right? So if it's very complex corrosion, if it's, because one of the things that I remember that Bruce would show is he'd do a lot of pull tests, right? Getting actual, and he would say, here are different configurations of pitting, and he would show them. Can you find them? Yeah.
And it's an eye-opener actually doing that. When you have a pipeline map of pull test and you're like, go and find those features. Go and size that feature. It's an eye-opener, okay? I strongly recommend it.
I have a question for you. We do this often, but off camera, but we're going to do it on camera.
Okay.
So do you interact with the ILI analysts at Onstream at all?
So in Onstream, we have a weekly managers meeting where we go over the data validation results from that week. So that's the technology director, myself, our analyst director, and the CEO of the company review the data validation results that's coming that week. And what can we do? What can we learn? That gets fed into a lessons learned every month for the actual analysts. And to the boneyard, we'll take our analysts down there to actually get their hands on the corrosion, the different morphologies, to get an idea of what pipe looks like.
So, hold on. Sorry, I have to. So, the boneyard. So, I remember once at a former employer, I remember someone telling me a story that they never had false calls or inaccuracies. And I said, why is that? And he said, because when we do digs, we take the analyst with us.
Okay.
And I was like, that's fantastic. And he's like, yeah, it's simple.
Yeah.
If they're right, they go home. If they're wrong,
They go
They
home
go in
another
the
way.
ditch.
Okay.
Is that the boneyard you're talking about?
No, it's not that boneyard. No.
What do you mean by the boneyard?
Boneyard is just a collection of pipe that we get from the operators with what they cut out. So in the upstream marketplace, it's a lot more cutting, and so you get the samples back. You can take a look at them. You can learn. Yeah, it's just a really
Great
nice
for development.
Yeah, great for development.
So actually, that topic hits really close to home for me. I don't know if you've ever read the book Black Box Thinking. I don't know if you're a reader.
I am a reader, but not
Black
that.
Box Thinking, and I only have so many books that people like to hear from me. That guy, what he did is he compared the flight industry,
Yeah.
airfare, with the medical industry,
Yeah.
and how they did or didn't learn from mistakes differently to
Yeah.
improve. Within the medical industry, one of the things that he brings up, there's a point to this,
Okay.
is that radiologists, people
Yeah.
that inspect or do the surveys that they feed to
Yeah.
doctors, they make calls, but then they're almost never ever given feedback on whether or not what
Okay.
they identified was correct. And they did this study where they basically had the radiologist read
Yeah.
a scan, and then they immediately gave them feedback, and they
Mhm.
said it was a noticeable improvement in the radiologist's call. I've often argued that a lot of times in our industry,
Yeah.
you have analysts who have analyzed thousands of miles of pipeline and never touched a pipe,
Yep.
never seen a real world corrosion defect, actually understood what that signal is.
Yep.
Because you guys, I mean, y'all don't see actual corrosion on the screen.
No.
You see squiggles and lines.
Yes.
It's thermal. Anyway, that's another discussion. Okay. Yeah.
You get hot when you look at it.
So you've got to close that loop. Closing that loop's important. The analyst
Yeah.
has to see it, look at the signals, and have an idea what that corrosion morphology is like. Is this something that is
Yeah.
of concern? And so getting the analyst to go down, look at pipe, look at the signals, and close that loop is vitally important. And it's a really key thing, okay? Similarly, on the technology side, I always like all the designers of the pigs to actually go out and run tools and see what happens actually in the field, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's another feedback loop we can close. And most of the technology team can actually look in the software, can identify corrosions, knows what the data are like, can run the software, and that's really key as well.
So if you don't mind me asking, you typically learn the most from your failures. It's usually when you get the one that's way off. That's really where you learn the most.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's that like when y'all get, and it happens to every islander, when you get the
Yeah.
one that's like, oh my gosh, what's that process like? How do y'all run that down? If you don't mind me asking.
Okay. So I mentioned the data validation meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'd be the first point of contact. Okay. It would come in. It would be an outlier. Okay. And then we have to work out why. Okay. Is it the tool dynamics? Is the tool traveling too fast? Was a debris in the line? All those things. Okay. And then once we've eliminated those, you go into things like calibrations, algorithm issues, anything like that. Okay. And you try and close that loop as quickly as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse for a customer to be sitting there with
Yep.
an outlier and a report. You need to close that loop as quickly as possible so the
Yeah.
pipeline can still be functionally and operational. So
Yeah. So you know,
we enjoy it. I enjoy getting those. Okay, it's challenging. Okay.
you do
Problem
learn the
solver, right?
most.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem solver likes it. I think one of the things I want to leave with the audience is give feedback to your vendors.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I
yes.
felt like too often in our previous life,
Yeah.
the only time the analyst ever got feedback is when it was wrong. But I
Yeah.
also think there's value in giving the positive feedback
Yeah.
too. And I really like to hear that you guys have an in-house meeting. I like that idea
Yeah.
of meeting together to
And
review
it's
the data.
so valuable, right? In so much that, I mean, there was even almost a congressional mandate right here in the States where PHMSA was charged to spin up an information sharing protocol, right? I mean, that was a couple of years ago where, I mean, it's been pretty clear, right? To kind of motivate pipeline operators to engage with ILI service providers more
Yes.
often and feed them the critical information. But obviously it's definitely feels like it's still growing pains, right?
Yeah, for
We've
sure.
been as an ILI vendor, we've been making that request to close that feedback loop for
Ever.
ever. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Stephen, I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I want to say thanks for joining us as we close. Can you tell us a little bit? I'd like to give the last couple of minutes to the audience. What's the future like for Onstream? Where are you guys headed the
anything
next
you wanna
couple of
share?
years? Anything you want to share?
Okay. So sharing wise, there's a 4-inch 1.5D tool.
4-inch.
4-inch 1.5D that we've just developed. Okay, we just finished running a 36-inch speed control tool down in Mexico. We're looking to just expand our fleet, expand our business in the US. So yeah,
Wow. What's the largest tool size you
at
have?
the moment 36.
Nice.
Yeah,
And it's over there. We get to go take a look at it.
That's a 30 over there. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
Perfect.
so-
Fantastic. All right. I heard rumors you guys are getting into the space industry. Is that true?
Oh
Are y'all
my
going to be
God.
competing with SpaceX?
can't speak on that.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
All right. To our audience, Pipeline Things, Stephen, thank you for
Thank you.
joining us. We appreciate you. Come back in 2 weeks as we continue our PPIM 2024 series. Thanks.
Thank you.